Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing MarzipanCat in the 5-minute pool on ICC. Is it Marzipan or Marzipan? I always forget how to pronounce that word. I think it's Marzipan. Alright, so White's playing this delayed d4 setup. There's a lot of stuff you can do here from the black side. I think I'll just play e6. A lot of times they go for some setup involving g4 in this line. I had a really interesting game against International Master Farai Mandija over the summer where he employed this setup for White, and it became double-edged in a hurry. Okay, but White is offering to go into a Semi-Slav, or forcing us into a Semi-Slav, so we'll take them up on that. And then play b5. Been a while since I played these lines, but they are fun. Okay, b4, try to remember my theory. c5 next. They usually go e5 and bring the knight here. So now if they castle, c takes d is correct. Yeah. And they're tempting us to take this pawn, but I know if you take, there's a lot of like really interesting things that can happen that maybe black should not allow. So you know what? I'm going to play it safe and just control the b5 square. I might fianchetto this bishop. I also might just play bishop e7. But I don't want to get into knight takes e5 when I'm going to have to rack my brains to try to remember why exactly it's okay for black to take that pawn. So yes, mark this time down. John Bartholomew declined a pawn. I did not take material that was offered to me. We'll see how Mr. Cat responds. f4, okay. It's pretty direct. I could play g6 and try to shut down f5. Also, this diagonal becomes weak for them, so I'm looking at bishop c5 as well as knight c5. Not sure which one would be preferred, but knight c5, they might just push forward with f5. So I feel like probably g6 is the way to go. Yeah, let's just play g6. I think it's good to have that sense of security that we control f5 a bit better. They might play f5 and really rip this open. Actually, that might be possible now that I think about it. Yeah, because if takes, there's knight takes e6 is White's contention here. This could get ugly. Or interesting. Probably more so for White than me. Okay, maybe knight c5 is a must now for me. Yeah, I'm going to try this move. I missed that they could just push forward with that. Due to g takes f5, knight takes e6, f takes e6, queen h5 check. And black can basically resign. King e7, bishop g5. So now we're going to have to get creative. Knight takes. Knight takes, there's queen f3, but probably I got to do this. My king might be bouncing around in the middle of the board. Like if knight takes, knight f takes, hard to see how I'm going to castle anytime soon. Ugh, this is already a gross position. Queen g4 maybe, attack e6, also threaten stuff on g6. At least then I can play queen d7 and I do hit this knight over here. Okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to play fast and make them make some tough decisions if I can, because, whoa, well, that was not a tough decision for White at all. They play that like it's crushing, which it might be. All right, I'm going to take. Let's see how you win. Okay, bishop e7, or do I run? If I run, he may find me. He may catch me. If bishop e7 take, knight takes, I'm on the queen. I'm still on the knight. But it looks really dangerous. If king c8, I can get a little bit closer over here to securing my king, but that also scares me a lot. But at least I control c5. Is king here, rook f7, queen takes a4, queen takes e6, king here. Somehow I'm managing to survive there. Okay, let's do this. Very sharp position. I mean, I think they kind of made this sacrifice intuitively. Looks like a lot of compensation. I mean, I gotta be honest. White's got 2 pawns, but more importantly, my king is completely on the run. Rook f7's in the air. This rook check is in the air. They're probably trying to calculate a forced win right now. It might not exist, though. I mean, like, this knight controls a lot of territory. It prevents me from getting killed on the d file. It controls c7. My bishop covers c5, so knight c5 can't be played. Even still, there's a lot of issues here. I mean, realistically, I need to play, like, king b8, king a7, somehow not get checked on this long diagonal. The fact that I'm on this knight might slow him down a bit. And he's thinking. This is about the best I can hope for, that my opponent begins to ponder. Yeah, pretty sure this is a better chance than bishop e7. I think my bishop is more valuable to the defense. So, wow, he's going to go for this. So, if I take rook check or queen takes, let's say take, queen takes, king b8, controlling d6. Yeah, I think I got to do it because bishop e7, not good at all. I'm just trying to figure out what his plan is. So if takes, rook check, king b8, I don't see how he kills me. I mean, maybe he just takes on e6 or something at the end. But even still, I don't see how he kills me. All right, let's see the refutation. I've got a minute 30. I've got to play fast anyways. Okay, so hide the king. We control e8. Okay, so he's just going to play kind of a slower move. Just bring that into the action. I see an interesting possibility, though. Let's do this. If he takes it, I have queen d1. And then if the king comes out, I have queen d4, and I'm going to pick this up again. I think he missed that. Yeah, because we can go take this rook, either on rook f1, queen d4 check, followed by queen takes c5. And that's key. We defend. Yeah. He's going to be down a rook plus maybe a piece. So on bishop c5 check, I guess he had to play king h1. But that wasn't looking good either. So let's give it a check. He's running with the king. Can I check anywhere really gross? Doesn't look like it. So let's just do that. So we're up a lot of material now. Let's try to convert. Queen c6. Yeah. Defend the mate. Defend the king. Almost forcing a trade here. I think he's got to play the queen back. And then I can play king a7. And finally, I'm getting close to the point of consolidation. If queen f2, I have queen b6. That's important. I'm going to try to bring this rook over. He might play for h4 at some stage to like support the bishop. But I should not be worried. Yeah, so let's come here. Okay, bring this over. I might just take and then play queen here. I think that's actually a pretty good plan. He has queen check again. I'm going to do this first. Let's just hide the king. I think that's useful, not ever having to worry about that anymore. Okay, let's give a check here. Get a bit closer, and we can take here now. Threatening mate on g3, and he's pinned. Yeah, he resigns. Okay, so sharp game. Our king went for a walk. It wound up on a8 pretty safe, but after f5 in the opening, things were looking very sketchy for us. So I performed a minor miracle there with the king march. I mean, he played bishop takes g6 pretty quickly. I think white can even strengthen their position without a sacrifice here. Not saying bishop takes g6 is bad, but if you were to play that move over the board, you'd have to calculate it for a while. The fact that white's knight on a4 is hanging in a lot of lines is annoying. So it kind of makes me think like maybe they should just play b3 here or something and make sure that queen takes a4 is never an issue. That could be too slow, though. I don't know. So let's go back and take a look. So this was a semi-Slav by transposition. And against bishop d3, you want to take on c4 right away. White has now committed this piece, so you can kind of gain a move by having forced them to move the bishop and then take on c4. If they play queen c2, on the other hand, so right back here, this is the anti-Moran variation. Bishop d3 is the Miran variation. So against this line, it doesn't make sense for black to take because white gets to take in one fell swoop. So you instead would like to play against queen c2, just bishop d6, or b6 is also played, and wait for that bishop to come out. So as played, bishop d3, take, b5. Here, black can play either a6 or bishop b7. b4 is also playable. I chose bishop b7. And two lines here possible, getting into a lot of theory, but white can castle, or they can play e4 as white did. I think sometimes they also try a3, but I don't think that move is anything special. So against e4, it's very important for black to strike on the queen side and try to push those pawns as I did, b4 and c5, because I don't want to let white just have these two unopposed pawns in the center. Like if I play bishop e7, white can go e5, white's going to get an edge out of this. So we need to be quick about it and play b4 followed by c5, opening up the bishop on e4. It's crucial in these lines that this bishop become active by pushing the c-pawn eventually. So e5, I get to anchor my knight in on d5. White castled, and now take. Yeah, so here white can play either knight takes d4 or rook e1. And they chose knight takes d4, and this is one of the downsides to playing into sharp lines. You have to be willing to dive into the complications sometimes. And here, I knew that knight takes e5 is a critical move, but I couldn't quite remember how it goes. I think it goes check, knight back here, and then queen h5, whereupon white is threatening this. And then I want to say it's g6, queen e5, something to this effect. Actually, I think in this position after g6, white can play a bunch of different moves, like queen h3, queen e2, queen e5. There's a lot of stuff. I'm just going to add the engine in, although it's not going to tell us much because an opening book would be better here. But knight takes e5, definitely the critical move. a6 on the other hand, whoa, that could have been bad right away. Knight takes e6, yeah. And if you want to pause your video and figure out why knight takes e6 is working for white, feel free to do so now. Okay, so knight takes e6 is working because after fe, now I'm fatally exposed on this diagonal. So here, check. And if king e7, then bishop g5 is at the very least going to get all the material back, plus white's going to have a killer attack because I have to block with a piece on f6. And if g6 is played, there's bishop takes g6, and it'll be more of the same. Let's say here, and white won't even go for the rook. They'll just go for this with check. And again, bishop g5 check. Wow, so that could have ended in a hurry had white played knight takes e6. What's the backup move here that I've tried before? Is it just g6? It could be g6. I thought about that for a second, but I know in a lot of these lines, black wants to play to control b5. Yeah, so g6 I think is the move that also can be played instead of knight takes e5 if black wants to duck the complications. Not a6 like I did. I think a6 is the move if rook e1 is played. Yeah, I think a lot of times black will do this here. So I think I just kind of confused the move order. So there you have it. Knight takes e6 was strong. As played, f4, maybe I can resist. So I played g6 here. But does that just allow white to push f5? That's the big question. In the game, it seemed that way. I thought about knight c5 or bishop c5 as well. Thing is, I didn't think knight c5 really did much. I thought white could just push ahead here. And this knight is defended by the queen, so nothing going on there. Maybe bishop c5, since I do have a threat with that move, but take, still f5. I'm close to castling, but I'm also getting attacked on this wing too. So as played, g6 and white pushed. The computer seems to approve of that move. And this is scary. It's interesting how both white and myself noticed knight takes e6 in this position, but not earlier after I played a6. It's funny how that happens sometimes. Like sometimes themes are very obvious, and then in a almost similar or identical looking position, they can go completely unnoticed. So But yes, if I took with the g-pawn, knight takes e6 is working once again for the same reason. And the bishop coming out here. So I played knight c5. I had a moment of panic here. The computer thinks it's not so bad if I take this way, but what happens here? Take, and then f6 and try to keep it closed. This still looks very suspicious for black, but maybe my knights in the center provide some counterattacking chances, and they do cover some weak squares, like g6 is better covered, g4 is better covered. So this might be my best chance. As played, this occurred. Looked good. I approve of the moves white made. Queen g4, queen f3 also possible. Queen d7, bishop g5. And in this case, I can't take the knight here because I would get mated on f7. So this is kind of what I mean. I mean, there might be some way for white to play without having to invest any material and just play based on the fact that my king is stuck in the middle. The f-file is open. There's not a prayer that I castle here, kingside at least. I might castle queenside out of desperation somehow, but I'm not going short in this position. But white played this, and now queen d7. Okay, and here comes bishop takes g6, and as you can see, that's not the best move at first blush by the computer's estimation. Yeah, it says bishop g5. So I can totally understand white wanting to do this, and it's a blitz game. I mean, you're going to go with your instinct most of the time. But if white had stopped to think about how good their position is without investing material, they might have decided differently. Yeah, bishop g5. I don't think I can take here because I assume that this is going to kill me. Or rook takes f8. Yeah, that's also a big problem. If I take with a rook, queen takes e6. So here, queen takes. Currently, white's down a rook, but with rook f1 coming and my king being stuck in the middle, maybe bishop f6 if white needs it. Yeah, that's over. So this happened, and now I just tried to move fast and look for the best defenses. Be resourceful. In some ways, it's actually not that bad to be black here, like especially in a blitz game, because I'm just reacting to what white's going to throw at me. If I can survive, that's enough. Like my threshold for what I hope to achieve from this position isn't very high. If I can survive and I'm not down like a ton of material, well, maybe I have a chance. The game hasn't been going so well so far, but suddenly it may be possible to resist. Okay, so white played according to the computer, bishop g5 check. You know, I was thinking here originally, but I'm glad I didn't do that because, yeah, I need the bishop to control c5, and I don't even think I saw knight c5 directly, but that makes a lot of sense. I mean, this bishop is pinned to my king. I don't want this knight to make an appearance on this square, and if I'm unable to take that knight, almost guaranteed it's going to be bad for me. That's just how it goes. I can't allow every single one of white's pieces to come into the game with decisive effect. So I played king c8. Now, the two of my defensive pieces that I'm really relying on are my dark square bishop and the knight. The dark square bishop to control c5, the knight to control squares like b6 and also e3. e3 was relevant when my king tried to hide on a7. I wanted to make sure white couldn't play bishop e3 check there. So those two pieces are essential. So is my light square bishop. I mean, it provides protection when my king comes over here, and the queen attacking a4, slowing white down. So white went ahead with rook f7. I took the knight. Approved. Yeah, I think I got to take the knight after rook f7. And now check, king b8. Okay, so here they played rook d1, but I was on the spot and found bishop c5. So they could have played this. I don't think I calculated this line. I saw this, and I thought after king a7, black was going to win. Oh, but that's interesting. Bishop check. I just assumed I would take here, but the point now is white has a perpetual. Queen d4 or probably queen c5. It might be the same. Yeah, it's the same thing. Whoops. Let me get to that line again. So throw in this check. Queen d4 or queen c5. Only legal move, king back to b8, and then check here. And the only way I could escape this perpetual is if I go here, but this rook is hanging with check, and also white's rook is ready to join here with check. So this seems incredibly reckless if I were to do this. Yeah, queen takes f8. Here, queen d6 check, king c8. probably something as simple as b3 soon is going to work. Rook f1 is the engine way of putting black out of his misery, and rook f8. Yeah, I would never have gone for this. I would have just accepted the draw. So that may be the result with best play. That's an accurate sequence, but that's not one white isn't capable of finding by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, rook takes f8. Remove the defending bishop. Otherwise, white can't check me from d6 because my bishop covers there. But why is the engine now saying that's somehow better for black? Wasn't that really forced? Check. Could I try knight c7? Is that possible? Take. Queen e8. Down a lot of pawns, though. Yeah, white has 3 pawns for the piece, plus my king is unsecure. I have an extra piece, but this shouldn't trouble white. So maybe the engine just wasn't seeing the whole situation. Yeah, now it starts to say draw again. So that line is absolutely forced. Take and check or check. So if we try to get to the truth of the position, as you attempt to do when you're analyzing, that seems to be the way to go. That rook takes f8 move. I can understand white's desire to get another piece in the game, rook c1. But bishop c5 check is a essential resource for black. I think that's the appropriate word. If I don't have that move, then that rook has joined the attack for free. And, I mean, look at my pieces. They're becoming weaker by the minute. White's increasing the pressure. Yeah, I'm on the verge of collapse here, despite having 2 extra minor pieces. But bishop c5 check, and white cannot take the bishop. I don't know if they thought I just was playing this move out of desperation or if they just completely missed queen d1, but you can't take that bishop. So king h1. And even though the engine is saying that this is totally winning for black, I'll tell you, I mean, I would still be scared here had this position occurred. And bear in mind the time situation. I mean, I could easily lose this position as black in a blitz game, for sure. That's not a -4 that you feel confident with. Like, sometimes having a position that's just 4 points in your favor is completely trivial. But this is so messy that, yeah, the computer sees through it all. But for a human to do it under time pressure, it's anyone's guess. But white just took here, and now it's very simple. Now we do get a clarified position because I'm going to win that rook. And that goes for whether they play king f2 or whether they play rook f1. It's the same thing. Go pick this guy up. And now I think it's pretty much over because getting that rook off the board is a big help. So here I played queen c6 looking for a trade. They don't want to trade naturally. I was able to connect my rook, so that's big. Play queen b6. My knight, MVP of the game, I think. This knight on d5. That knight saved me on multiple occasions. And here it's saving me, stopping bishop e3. So, yeah, now we get this rook over. Now we've got all our pieces into the game. And there's just a matter of not screwing it up with 40 seconds left. Yeah, and white resigned. Okay, so this was a game where I managed to survive a pretty fearsome attack. But it looks like I played accurately after this. I properly assessed the resources. I regret ending up in this situation. You know, my opening play was not good. After a6, I should have been DOA after knight takes e6. But once white sacrificed on g6, it was kind of anyone's ballgame. Probably we still favor white here with the attack and the slight time advantage they had. But white has to follow up correctly. And I found a few nice resources, especially bishop c5 check at the end. So mental note for myself, I got to go back and look at this line and make sure that I can confidently play knight takes e5. I haven't played the Semi-Slav in any tournament games recently, so the theory's a little rusty in my head. Heads. I wish I had multiple brains. That would be nice. The dual core processor for chess. But the theory is a little rusty in my head, which can happen when you haven't reviewed a sharp opening in a while. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be back again soon with another one. Talk to you guys later. Bye.